welcome to episode 43 of Retro Recall, the PS1 Chronicles, a show where we play and rank every PlayStation game ever created. My name is Jimmy, and as always, I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And I'm Julian. Kyle can go next, second.
I was going to introduce you first, because you complained about it last time. I was going to do
Kyle, as long as Kyle's going second this time, that's all I need. So I had to lock that in.
And Kyle's here.
Hi, I'm here.
Yeah, I was going to say, before you rudely interrupted me, that this is the final game of Horror Month, so no more horror games for a year. And what a way to end it, you know?
What a way to end it.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one.
So everybody real quick, we kind of did the same thing with Silent Hill, so I wanted to do it here. What is everybody's history with Resident Evil? I'll go first. I've never played any of them besides, I think I played this one as a kid, and I stopped when the zombie turns around because I was too scared.
Really?
But dude, I was 5 years old when I played it, so come on.
The zombie in the very, very beginning.
Yeah. But I tried Resident Evil 7 on PSVR when I got that, and I was way too scared to play that for sure.
The first 2 hours of that game is some of the scariest gameplay I've ever experienced. I couldn't imagine playing that in VR.
Played it for 5 minutes, and I was like, no. I believe at some point I tried Resident Evil 4 on GameCube. Played it at a friend's house, didn't really like it very much, but I also have seen at least half the Resident Evil movies.
Damn.
And I would say half of them are good.
I only like the first one.
I've never seen any of them, but I find it hysterical you've managed to watch a majority of the movies and play one of the games.
I'm just a fan of video games, dude. I like video games, so it's a video game movie. I watched it. I even watched the series that came out a few years ago. That was pretty bad.
I didn't even know that happened, and I'm a Resident Evil fan myself, so.
Yeah, you're a fake fan.
Guess so.
Fake fan, fake fan, fake fan. I'm a real fan.
Yeah, Kyle, let's hear about your Resident Evil past.
Okay, let's go. The first time I ever remember anything Resident Evil was watching my dad play Resident Evil 2 on PS1. And then around the same time, I remember seeing my uncle play Resident Evil 1. I distinctly remember the room, when you get the shotgun and the fucking ceiling falls. I remember seeing that as a kid. But Resident Evil is probably my favorite franchise, the game franchise. Played them all, love them all. We don't talk about 6. It's okay. Mistakes happen. It's okay. It's okay, because 7 came right, 7 was next after that, and 7 is phenomenal. Love that game. Personal favorite would probably be original Resident Evil 2. Played that game fucking through and through. Love that. Love the remake. The remake was good. I just wish they didn't take out the spiders, because the spiders were I fucking hate spiders. So when you get to those big ass spiders, super, super scary. But like in Resident Evil 1, when I got to the spiders, I was like, oh no! I was like, these guys are back.
Yeah, I also found, whenever I was picking the games for this month, I don't know if you know this, there's a Resident Evil light gun game for PS1.
Yep.
Huh.
I don't know why.
Well, we'll have to hit that one up next year, maybe.
Yeah.
I've never played that, so I would gladly do that episode. Any Resident Evil, I'm down.
So, Mike, what is your history with Resident Evil? I'm going to make Jay go last because he interrupted me first.
Well, real quick, what is Resident Evil 6? Because you always mention that one's bad. Which one is that?
That's the Michael Bay Resident Evil where you play as a bunch of different characters. It's just super duper actiony. It's very, very easily forgettable.
There's no good story elements. There's a cool train fight. I do love that fight, but that's the only good thing I remember from the Leon campaign, and I remember hating all the other campaigns. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I guess if it's $5 and you're a mega fan, you could play the Leon campaign and it might be worth it, but that's it. It's literally it. And you have to have patience and appreciation for the franchise in order to do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never played any of these games. This first one, I remember watching my cousin play whenever I was very young, and it scared the shit out of me, and I never went back and touched it. I've watched my roommate before play one of the Resident Evils. I want to say they were in Africa or something.
That's Resident Evil 5.
Yeah.
5. Okay, so I watched him play 5 a lot. And aside from that, I've just seen some streamers play 7 and 8. And that's about it.
See, 5 is really good, except you get to the ending and then you're the final boss fight, and then you're just You're like, what?
Yeah, the boulder punching is like,
Oh my God, dude.
I've seen videos about that meme.
yeah.
It's fucking, oh, dude, it's so bad.
But honestly, I don't even think the game is. I mean, it's not like, again, if you're a Resident Evil fan, you'll like it a lot. It's good. It's great with a friend. It's good on its own. It's great with a friend. But that's 5.
That's the thing. It's so fun to play with a friend.
Yeah, it is.
Because it has, so it's like getting that whole co-op experience, and you're still getting like a good Resident Evil game because there's similarities between 4 and 5.
Yeah, it's good.
Dude, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. But speaking of, honestly, 4, because that's where I was going to go, I don't know, that's my favorite game of all time, I think. I have a lot of different favorite games of all time, but yeah, I've played a bunch of these Resident Evil games. Haven't played the GameCube remake yet of 1, so I didn't know anything going into the PS1 version. But I played, I think, all the other Resident Evil games. Like, I played 2 remake, if that counts as playing 2, 3 remake, if that counts as playing 3, 4, 5.
Oh, you got to play OG too.
I'll play OG too. I mean, I heard it's fucking terrifying, especially because the controls are harder and you're being stalked the whole time.
It's definitely still kind of scary. I mean, I've played it a bunch, so I know, where the scary parts are, but it's like, it's definitely my favorite in the franchise. Like, it still holds up. And I mean, you got the whole A scenario, B scenario with each character, so you
Right.
kind of see like different sides of each story.
Yeah, that's dope as fuck. See, that's what I also like about the Resident Evil games, but I only played one of the 2 characters for this game. Yeah, I don't know. That's my history with the Resident Evil games. Love all of them. Haven't played 1 yet. Started playing 0, but haven't played 1 yet. So this is my first time doing the still camera angle Resident Evil as well.
All right. Well, it seems like everybody's ready to talk about the game anyway, so let's just get into it. Resident Evil was released on April 1st, 1996 in North America, with the director's cut coming out a year later and the DualShock version coming out the year after that. It was developed and published by Capcom, and this is one of the first survival horror games. I mean, it's definitely the one that basically put the genre on the map for sure.
Yeah. And whenever you load up into like a save game, it's like you are now entering like the survival horror. So it's like they were really going into what this genre was.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only real quote-unquote survival horror game before this was like Alone in the Dark.
True. Yeah.
And this game kind of like took that and just took it to a whole nother level. Because when we did the Alone in the Dark episode, we looked at the original one and it looks like shit. So, but yeah, I mean, just to get us started, like how long did everybody play? I played for about 4 hours.
I'd say I probably was like 4 or 5 hours because I know you and I stopped at the same point.
I did 3.
Wow. I am so bad at video games. I played like 10 hours and got like a third of the way in. So
What's the last thing you did in the game?
I killed the snake and then I got poisoned and then I got kidnapped but saved.
And you played like 10 hours?
I don't know. I just kept like, oh, I need this item for this area. And I like go run back and like die 10 times and it takes forever to load back in. It just ate up so much time. I just kept dying.
Wait, you died?
Yeah, I died a ton.
What difficulty did you play on?
I played on the middle one, I guess.
The normal one?
Yeah.
Dude, you're bad at video
I
games.
guess I'm bad at video games.
I can echo Jay's thoughts here because I had to use a walkthrough. Because if I didn't use a walkthrough, my 3 hours would have been making 0 progress in this game. I died literally in the first 3 minutes to that very first zombie. And I was just dying nonstop and I was making 0 progress. And everything Jay is saying, I can second because it was my experience too.
Hell yeah. Fuck you, Kyle.
All right, I got something to say here. I played on easy,
Come on,
Whoa.
dude.
but I made it my mission to not use a walkthrough for this, and I did not use a walkthrough. I think that this game is so accessible and easy to figure out without a walkthrough. I think you guys are crazy.
I think that's the craziest statement I've ever heard.
To be honest with you, I don't think it was hard to figure out, but I was just having a tough time like knowing which key items to bring, running out of inventory space.
Oh, I got plenty to say about that, buddy.
Yeah, like it's just not a very efficient game. It doesn't move quickly. The amount of times I would go through the wrong door like 4 or 5 times trying to get to a place like, oh, all right, I gotta go back, pick up the item, and then bring it back here. That took me like an hour. Like I couldn't figure out, like I'm dumb, I guess.
I mean, okay, I will say, and that can probably be attributed to like my only complaint with this game is the fucking map. Nothing is labeled. It doesn't show you where you are on the map.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it doesn't show you what direction you're going. Nothing. It's just the map is just there, but it is pretty much not functional.
To be fair, like we were spoiled with Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Now. Like now going forward, every game we
100%.
play is going to be bad.
It's hard to get around in the game for sure. And also, I don't know if you guys have a lot of experience with the still camera angle games. I'm sure you all do more than me because I actually didn't grow up with the PS1. But this is my first time dealing with it. And I played through original 4 a few times. So I was used to tank controls. But these were especially, for me, like dated, like especially abysmal. I'm sure they were good for the time, but man, I was oversteering like a motherfucker. This game was hard.
All right, one complaint at a time. Let's start with them.
Sorry, I got sidetracked. Fuck the tank controls too, though. So hard to get around.
We'll get into those. I
Just
promise.
getting around in general is what I'm saying.
This is going to be an episode where I feel like Jay and I are on one side of the room and you and Kyle are on the other side of the room.
100%.
Well, I will say I did hate the map as well. That's a big one for me. I mean, this is essentially the same map as Dino Crisis.
Yes.
So like they didn't change anything in like 4 or 5 years, which is crazy. Silent Hill came out and they're like, fuck that. We'll just do the same map again for Dino Crisis and probably for the Resident Evil game that came out after that.
I will say I saw a lot of similarities too of in Dino Crisis, you have that main area, like the main hub area. And in this one, it's the mansion main like room with the side doors that go off. It's like almost like Dino Crisis just took this first level and designed their levels around it.
Well, all of these games are like that. Like they all do that where they have like a main location. Like I think Resident Evil 2 is the police station, right?
Yeah.
Like they all have that where it's like you start in this area, it interweaves with everything, and then you eventually, go off to new places. But the first like big chunk of the game is always in that area.
Right, but I just mean layout too, with where the steps were located in this game and Dino Crisis was almost identical.
I do remember exactly what you're talking about, like the entrance to that building in Dino Crisis.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the map, like I checked it so many times and I would pretty much like try and map it out in my head, the amount of doors to go down to get to the door I wanted to go to.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have to do too. Because I mean, the room you're in is highlighted. So like you do know at least what room you're in. So I would look down and be like, okay, I need to go to like the third door on the right, or I need to round this corner and go to the first door on the right. And that was like the only way that you can really like use the map to get around.
I do feel like this is a little bit better than Dino Crisis, and the fact that Dino Crisis, I could be wrong because I don't remember this aspect of it, but I feel like all the rooms in Dino Crisis was rectangular. So to know which door you're supposed to go to was more difficult. In this, the rooms are actually different shapes and stuff. So to see what door you need to go into isn't as bad as Dino Crisis, but it's the same problems regardless. Every complaint we had with that game, we're going to have with this game too.
That's true. But okay, Jay, I will agree with you that these are probably the worst tank controls we've had on this show so far.
Damn. Hell yeah.
See, I hate tank controls, and I feel like these aren't that bad.
It didn't ruin my experience. I think it's fine. Like, I'm used to it, but that doesn't mean that they're good.
Yeah, no, I was really having trouble. Were you guys using the DualShock version? Were you using thumbsticks or just the D-pad?
See, Jay, this is why I told you not to play with thumbsticks, you fucking dork. He was
you're an idiot.
No.
Listen,
No. It's my turn to talk.
It's 3v1. No, stop talking. It's 3v1. It's 3v1. You're wrong. You can't get mad.
No,
at
it's
me.
not. They
It's
didn't play with.
No, but it's 3v1 that the controls suck.
No,
so
all right,
it's not
fine.
just the
Let Kyle talk, then you can respond.
I told you that using the analog stick with tank controls is significantly harder than just using the D-pad. And you were like, no. And now you're like, the controls sucked and they were really hard. And if you would have just used the D-pad, it would have been a lot easier. 100%. And I know Mike and Jim will both agree.
Bro.
I gotta agree with Kyle because when you asked me if you should get the DualShock version, I did say if you want, but it might be harder. I did say that to you.
I don't think it has really any bearing on the actual, because 3 people are saying the controls suck. Whether it's D-pad or thumbstick, you're going to have like a bad time or a difficult time.
You're making it significantly harder by using the joystick.
Let's not focus on that. We don't know that.
We do know that.
We don't know which one I
know that for
prefer.
sure.
Different people have different strengths. Different people have different strengths.
So tank controls are built with the D-pad in mind.
Dumbass.
That's what it is.
Either
so
way,
like using the
yeah.
analog stick, it doesn't allow you to be precise. So like I'm saying the controls were kind of shitty. So for you, that's double because you use the stick.
I don't know.
I'm not saying they're like the best tank controls by any means. I've just played games with a lot worse tank controls. Once you kind of get down the fact that you're like, okay, turns are going to be wide, you get used to that and you kind of settle in. This is kind of the same thing I said with Silent Hill, where it's like, at first you're like, oh yeah, this is a little wonky because like tank controls just inherently suck. But like it's very easy to settle in, and that's kind of how I judge whether like the tank controls are good or not for being tank controls. It's like it's easy to settle in and get acclimated to, then I'm like, okay, these aren't bad, these are decent. But if it's just like a constant struggle for me, then like obviously that means those are bad. That's all I'm saying.
So I was gonna say, when we played Dino Crisis, Kyle was going on and on about, oh yeah, these tank controls suck, like Resident Evil is so much better. So going into this, I'm like, cool, sweet, these controls are supposed to be a lot better. Getting into, I'm like, what the fuck was Kyle talking about? Like, these are so much worse than Dino Crisis.
Did Dino Crisis come out before? Sorry to interrupt.
No, after.
After? Okay.
So I also had the DualShock version. I don't know why. Used the D-pad, and at one point I'm like, oh yeah, I can use the sticks. So I went to use the sticks, did that for 5 seconds, and I'm like, I cannot play the game this way. And I went back to the D-pad. So the fact that you did 10 hours with the joysticks blows my mind.
I mean, trust me when I say there was a lot of times where I just put the controller down and found myself scrolling on Instagram because I had died in the same place for the 10th time. But I don't know. Maybe that is why I spent 10 hours, playing certain parts of the game because I was using thumbsticks. But either way, like if I was to use the D-pad, which I did try for a little bit, I didn't find it to be easier, but maybe if I gave it more of a chance. But I was still like bound to oversteer and have a difficult time. So I don't know. I still enjoyed the game for what it's worth. So
I will say that if you use the D-pad, you would probably oversteer a lot less because you can be more precise with the D-pad.
That's fair enough. I mean, oversteering was a big issue to me because I kept running into zombies. But also sometimes, like, I was hitting those diagonals and weaving in between them. And it was fucking, I mean, it felt good then. I'm not sure if you could do that on the D-pad, but it was almost kind of satisfying then. Not that happened that many times because the game was pretty difficult. It was kind of fighting me the entire way.
So I do want to say, playing on easy, the only differences are you get more ammo, and I believe there's more healing items, but I didn't really find myself getting hurt that often. I killed every single zombie in the game that I saw.
I played on normal and I killed every single zombie because then it's just easy to get through all the rooms because you're not having to constantly like dodge them and work around them, just like go through a door, and as soon as you see them, just start shooting them. Because I never really, there's maybe only one point where I ran out of ammo, but then you always seem to find like a surplus somewhere. You know what I mean? You just kind of have to play it smart.
Who did each of you guys pick? Because that affects each of our answers a lot of the time. The game is easier.
Did we all play as Chris?
I picked Jill.
Oh, okay.
I was Chris.
I picked Jill.
Okay. So, yeah, I was Chris as well.
So 2 Chris, 2 Jill? Yeah, Chris is harder.
Jill gets 2 more slots in her inventory,
What?
plus she gets the lockpick.
And she gets the gun earlier.
2 more slots would have been so nice.
So, like, you know how you have to put the broken shotgun in to, like, get the shotgun out so this thing doesn't fall?
Yeah.
When you're Jill, you can just take the shotgun and you go out into the room, and you have to, like, run back and forth and try each door, and that'll, like, trigger a cutscene where Barry saves you.
Yeah, okay. And he says you were almost a Jill sandwich. Famous line. You were,
yeah. You're almost a Jill
good dialogue.
sandwich.
I'm sure we'll get into the voice acting and the dialogue, but yeah, good line.
Yeah, so I killed every zombie. Best thing about this game is that there's a static amount of enemies. So if you kill them, they're gone forever. Fucking beautiful.
I loved that. The no respawning. I was like, cool, I cleared this area. I can just run through it now and I'm safe.
Though there were a few times that there were rooms that were previously safe and then I ran back into them and new enemies had spawned because maybe I did something outside of the room. But I guess that's kind of different.
No, that's because you didn't fully kill them.
Well, because there were rooms that were previously empty. Like there were no zombies in them. Like, do you remember when you light the second floor map painting on fire? Is that what it is? With the lighter on the fireplace? That room later on, after you kill the snake boss, I think, has 2 zombies in it when you go back in, and it never had any to begin with.
I didn't know that.
I think you're right. I think I remember that.
I was like, I'm safe in this room, and I got nuked.
That's just so crazy to me. I didn't die once.
Damn.
I died exactly once.
You guys are kings of gaming.
But that was because I was trying to use the knife and conserve ammo. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck this.
I'm not crazy. The knife is useless, right?
Really? I couldn't do anything, but I saw because I had to throw on a guide a couple times. Someone was using the knife to take out everyone. They weren't using like gun ammo. Maybe that's just a speedrunner thing. But yeah, I don't know.
Were they playing as Chris?
No, they're playing as Jill.
Yeah, I would pull out the knife to make sure that they were fully dead until I realized like you can see the blood and that shows that they're dead. But then after that, like I never used the knife again.
Yeah. How far did we all make it? Like we said our hours, but like what does that translate to in where you made it to in the game?
So me and Kyle made it to the same spot. You kill the snake boss.
That's where I ended
Then you
up.
have all the
Snake boss.
crests and you can go to the next area after the mansion, which is like the courtyard and the guard tower. And I kind of went through that area for a little bit and then I kind of got stuck and then I just stopped.
Yeah, once I got to that room where it's like the recipes and you have the empty bottles and stuff, I was like, I have no idea what to do with this. And then there's a room where there's like the root of whatever plant is like, you know, attacking you throughout the house. And I'm like, am I supposed to do something in here? And then I got to that room with the sharks and I was like, I'm getting out of here. And then, yeah, I kind of got stuck. And
Yeah, you can't kill the sharks. You just shoot them and they'll back off for a second, but you can't kill them.
Wait, really?
I shot them like 4 times and they didn't die. So I don't know. I didn't even make it to that room that you're talking about with the recipes either. I got to the shark room and then there were so many rooms that were locked that I didn't really. I feel like a lot of this game is you get a new item or a new key. You go back through everywhere that was locked before and check it everywhere. So I just didn't feel like going back through that again.
In the first hour and a half, I made almost zero progress. I kept dying in the same area over and over again. So after an hour and a half, I had to just say screw it. And I restarted the game from scratch and went to easy mode. It's because I started on normal or whatever the main mode is. I had to go to easy because I'm like, if I don't, I have nothing to talk about in this episode because I just can't progress in the game. In easy mode, in 20 minutes, I made it past the point where it took me an hour and a half to keep dying at, and I was fine. So I didn't want to go to easy on this one. I wanted to actually play the like legitimate difficulty that I figured everyone else is going to be playing. I just couldn't do it. So I had to stop down. And I think I almost made it down to the boss. I was like very close to the boss and I had to quit because we were about to record.
Yeah, so I guess I do like this game, but my biggest complaint of all is the inventory system. I would say a good third of my gameplay, if not more, is finding items and then going back and forth to the box to put them in there. You know, you find somewhere with a bunch of herbs, you get them all, go back, come back, get more, take them back, get a key item. I don't know what this is for right now, so I'm not going to keep holding it. So take it back. It's just like running back and forth. Like literally, I think at the end of each of my play sessions, I would spend like 20 to 30 minutes going back and forth doing shit like that. And then I'd be like, all right, I'm done for the day.
Yeah, it's where I lost all my time, bro. Like, same thing. I was really frustrated with that.
At the beginning, Kyle, you were saying how easy this was and how like you can just get through it and figure it out, which I don't know. Like maybe you played this in the past though, right?
This is my first time playing this version of the game, like the original. I have played the GameCube remake, but I haven't played that since I was in, elementary school. So I don't really remember a lot.
I'm pretty sure the GameCube remake is different too. It's not the same game.
Okay. My thoughts on this was exactly what you're saying, Jimmy, of like, it's for that exact reason I had to follow the walkthrough because immediately whenever I first started the game, like I collected the plaque in the back of the like clock area. I went up, pushed down the gem, got the gem. I have 2 small keys. Now my inventory is stocked and I don't know where I'm supposed to go or what to use all this stuff with. And you don't have a box right away immediately. So there's nowhere for me to put this stuff. So I'm screwed when I do find a key item. I don't have space for it anymore. That was my biggest complaint where they give you a save spot right in the beginning. They should have given you at least a small box to put some items in the beginning. Because for a new player, you're going to collect stuff. You're going to grab things and figure out where you're supposed to go as you just explore. for us, for the show, we have to rely on walkthroughs for something like this because we just don't have the time to naturally explore. I mean, Jimmy did. You two made it very well without the walkthrough. I don't know. I feel like because of how limiting the inventory system is, which I love. I love the fact that you only have 6 items. It makes you have to decide what to grab. They should have given you more boxes to put stuff in.
Yeah, I think obviously inherently, like, you guys played on easy mode by having more inventory slots playing as Jill. That makes the game so much easier.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that was on purpose. I also told Kyle that, and I was like, I wonder if they know that. And then I was like, I'm not going to say anything, though, because I was curious what would happen, honestly. I didn't want to steer you guys in any sort of direction.
I thought you guys would have like looked that up because, like, you know, I thought you guys might have been like, oh, what are the distinct differences between playing these two characters? Because I mean, there are differences, and I figured you guys would have went with Jill because, like, yeah, you get more inventory space and the lockpick. Like, yeah, it's a lot easier.
My thought with this is just like, what would I pick naturally? And I would pick Chris just because he's the first one that comes up. Seems like he's the main character. I know about Resident Evil how there's the A and B scenarios, and usually you play as A first. So I thought, yeah, like I'll just play as Chris. But yeah, turns out I was wrong.
And typically we don't look into the game prior to playing it. So it's usually just always a natural reaction as we're playing.
We don't look anything up until we hit a wall or we need to. Like, I will never like go into a game knowing everything already because that would ruin that first impression for me, you know? But yeah, so the inventory stuff is definitely annoying, but over time, I kind of just got used to it. The running back and forth was super annoying, obviously. And this area I'm showing right now pretty early in the game where you find the first box, I must have spent so much time running back and forth. But the beauty of it is, once all the zombies are gone, it doesn't matter.
And like you said, like, you don't know what you need. So you put everything in your box and then you run around and like, oh, I need the chemical for the plant thing. Now I got to run back to the box to grab the chemical because I don't have it on me. I think all of us, like maybe you too, Kyle, where the majority of your time was just spent going back and forth to the boxes every single time.
So I didn't have that experience. My approach, because I knew inventory space is limited, even though I had 2 more spaces than you, I was like, okay, I got to be careful with what I pick up. So I wasn't picking up every herb, or if I was picking up combination, like, you know, if I was picking up multiple herbs, I was combining them and, you know, because that makes them more effective and you save space anyway. So it's like, if there's like 4 green herbs, like, okay, I'll pick up the 4 of them and combine them. And then that's only going to take up 2 spots. But it's like with like the emblem, for example, I didn't even like notice that above the fireplace. So I found the spot where you have to put it and I was like, huh. And then I was walking back to that hall and then I noticed that. I'm like, oh, that looks like different from the background. You could probably interact with that. And then I picked it up. I'm like, oh, I know where this goes. And then I ran back. And so I didn't really experience the having to run back and forth to boxes. But I mean, I can totally see why you would have experienced that. Just because it's like, yeah, you see a bunch of herbs, you want to pick them all up because, you know, those are healing items. It's going to stop you from dying.
Well, what I would end up doing is like, if I'm in the middle of deep exploring an area and I don't want to start doing the run back, I would, like, for example, I found an area with 3 herbs on the ground. I don't feel like doing the run right now. So I will open up the map, take a picture with my phone of where I'm at, and then remember to go back there later.
I was pretty much doing the same thing.
I wish that the game had some sort of way for you to do something like that if they're gonna just force the inventory. Like, I love how Silent Hill does the thing where when you look at your map, it's hand drawn, so he writes things on it. That is something that should have been in these games. Obviously that came out after this, but like, imagine if you go into a room and he writes like 3 herbs, you know what I mean? That'd be cool.
But not even that, like, oh, you go to a door and it's like, oh, this is the shield door. And then on the map, it shows a shield onto that door. So you know exactly where all your shield doors are and all that. Or what doors are locked. Maybe those are red. Like, that's why we were spoiled with Silent Hill, because this map system sucked. I did like, well, okay, 2 things about the inventory. I like how your clips stack and your shells stack. Why do your herbs not stack? You can combine them, but like...
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, why can't you carry like 5 at a time?
It makes no sense that you can stack clips when theoretically those should take up individual spaces as well, but the herbs you don't. But I do like how when you're done using a key, the game's like, hey, you don't need this key anymore. Do you want to get rid of it? Like, that's a very nice feature.
Yeah. I'm glad it tells you, because otherwise you're just going to be like bringing it around everywhere you go. Like, when am I going to need this again?
No, that's very generous. Like, I would have kept carrying around multiple keys the whole fucking time if I didn't know that.
Definitely, because like anytime I'd like unlock a room, I'm always like, is this going to be the one? Because I knew that it did that from like playing 2.
Oh, okay.
So you guys had the lockpick, and as Chris, you have to find tiny keys to open the desks. I never found that to be too much of a problem. Usually I had at least one key whenever I would find a desk. So I would, make the run and then do it.
But the fact that you have to like make that run and it takes up inventory space too. So it's like,
And you're already -2. Like, that's insane.
I mean, I pretty much rolled with, for the first little bit, the knife, gun, ammo, and a health item. And then I stopped carrying the knife and would carry a key. But like, I don't know. I also think it's kind of annoying that you have to use an item to save.
Yeah.
I had so many of them, it didn't matter.
And how we talked about Alone in the Dark was a Resident Evil ripoff. The instant I saw that you need the ink ribbons to save, I was like, oh, that's where Alone in the Dark got their idea from.
One really, really annoying thing about the inventory, though, is you can't combine things when you're inside the box.
That annoyed me so much, too.
Let's say I stopped using the pistol when I got the shotgun. So now every time I find a clip, I take it to the box. But I can't combine it with what's in the box. I have to take them both out of the box, combine them, then put it back in the box. I don't know why they couldn't have the standard item menu in the box menu as well. It just seems stupid and a waste of time. I don't know, especially with the save things. Like when you find them, yeah, I'm going to take them to the box, combine them, leave them there. But then I have to take them both out. It's a tedious task that doesn't really serve any purpose other than to waste your time.
I feel like also the game is missing a discard button, because the other games have that. And sometimes I was carrying something I felt like I really didn't need, like just like an extra herb when I was already like, juiced up and had plenty in like the storage. And there's no discard button, and I would want to pick up like a treasure, like instead, like some key item that I needed. But I couldn't. I had to run all the way back because there was no discard button for getting rid of like items that I knew were just kind of like excess.
Well, couldn't you have just used the herb then in that scenario?
Fuck.
Does it let you if you're already at the max health?
I don't know. I didn't try.
I don't know. It probably does, but also sometimes like I would have a clip and it would have 15 bullets, and my gun would already have like 2 bullets in it. So I'd have a spare 2 bullets in the clip. I could toss that. Like I could, to trade out like a key item, that's worth it,
That's a crazy statement. You're going to throw away ammo instead of running back to the box. You're crazy.
2 bullets? Easily. Don't need that
Every
shit.
bullet matters. Every bullet is important.
I honestly had shit tons of ammo. I was fine.
So that's one thing I'm curious about, because so you're saying that Kyle said he had no problem with ammo. Where were you getting all your ammo at on normal difficulty? Because on easy, when you pick up ammo, it gives you even more than what they do on normal.
It's actually literally double.
Oh, okay. Double. So
like on easy, you get double the ammo.
that's crazy, dude.
I had to restart because the part where I kept dying, I was also very low on ammo, and I just couldn't take out the zombies anymore. So there's literally nowhere I can go to move forward. So where were you finding all this ammo at?
I mean, I was just very conservative with my ammo. Because like Jim said, every bullet matters. So I was just like, I was landing every single shot. I wasn't shooting, extra or anything like that. I was spacing them out enough to where it's like, okay, if they were going to fall down, then I would aim down and shoot. But like, yeah, there was only one time I ran out of ammo, and I kind of had to be a little strategic with like running through rooms. And then once I found another clip, I was good. And it seemed like at that point, I would always find enough to carry me through. And then, once you start picking up shotgun shells and stuff, then it's like, yeah, you're chilling.
Weird, because like I found that each zombie took about 5 hits. So like between 4 to 5 hits. That's before they fall to the ground. And then you got to shoot them at least once to twice more on the ground. So you're already at half of your clip gone for every single zombie. So it's just like, it just seemed like too much. It was just, they were bullet sponges. And for how limited all your ammo was, I kept running out.
I will say, even though we were playing on easy, I was still conservative with my ammo. I mean, I do that. I did it in Silent Hill 2. Like, it's just the way that I would play anyway. But it's nice knowing that I had all the extra ammo just in case. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, whenever I went to easy, I had no problems with ammo. I was up to like 200 or something. So I was just going through killing everything.
I never had 200. That's ridiculous.
Well, in the walkthrough, they tell you where all the secret spots are for the clips. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I never hit 100, but still, I mean, I never felt like I was going to run out. But yeah, so I think we've covered everything with the inventory, which is probably my biggest issue with the game. But on to the next thing. I think the graphics suck. The pre-rendered backgrounds look like shit.
Is this like standard for the time? Because this is what, 96? Like we can't really compare it to Silent Hill, which came out 99, right? This was 96, I think. So
True, but I'm still going to say it doesn't look good.
right.
I think it's funny how you can tell what you're supposed to do because it's a 3D object and not like an image in the background.
I think that's partly intentional though.
I don't know. I was just like kind of surprised with some of the earlier areas that were just like really dark and looked bad. As it went on, obviously, it's not like an issue. I just don't think this is a particularly good looking game.
Yeah, no, it's not. But also, like the aesthetic is kind of. I mean, I can appreciate the novelty for at least for the sake of recording it for a podcast. You know what I mean? And I'm sure for the time, that like I mean, you guys were scared. So I know you were young, but were you scared? I don't want to get off topic, but were you guys scared this time? Were you guys scared playing this game?
I was actually going to bring that up next. I was not scared.
Wow. But you are scared of Resident Evil games in general, like kind of like the later ones or whatever.
Maybe not, because
Oh.
so the scary parts were, the angles that they choose where you can't tell if there's a zombie, but you can hear a zombie. So like, I walk around a corner, automatically pull my gun out, even if there's not a zombie there, right? And the fact that that when you kill them, they're gone forever, to me takes away the scariness. Now that I know I can run back and forth through this whole area with no fear, nothing's going to jump out at me. It never happened again. I'm not scared anymore. Like I just systematically go through and kill everything I see, and then I'm good. The only part that I was scared was the dogs, and that made me jump both times.
So yeah, same thing. With Silent Hill, stressed out immediately, and this one, it just doesn't have that atmosphere to it. So there was never a time to be scared or anything. It's just like, oh, I'm exploring and I'm just killing things every once in a while. The music doesn't really set the tone to be scared like Silent Hill does either. But to the dog thing, in the walkthrough it says, hey, go down this thing. And then when the dogs come through, shoot them. I'm like, okay, here we go. Here's the dog scene. I'm walking down. Dog jumps through. I almost threw my controller, even though I knew it was coming. Like it scared the absolute shit out of me.
Dude, that's so funny.
Well, the first one got me, and I was like, all right, I'm good. It happened. It's done. And then it happened again. I'm like, all right.
I wasn't expecting it to be so in your face and so sudden. So it's just like, even knowing it was coming, it still made me jump.
Yeah, to your point with the atmosphere, this game is definitely lacking for sure. Music, boo, not good. The only music that was good was the save room.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Like, especially like if I compare it to Resident Evil 2, which has some pretty good music in it, this was very much lacking in that department. There was nothing that ever like added to the, ambience of the game or anything that really helped set the tone. You know what I mean?
It sounds like AI generated haunted house music.
Yeah, it was just kind of there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we talk about the music because we all love video game music. So like, I just found nothing here that I liked at all besides the save room music, which is amazing. Great music. But everything else was just kind of there. And I know it was trying to be creepy, like in a horror movie kind of way. I don't know. After playing Silent Hill, like this is nothing.
Exactly.
Some of the shit in Silent Hill, just scary. Just hearing those noises put me on edge. And in this game, never experienced anything even close to that.
So we kind of skipped over this completely. The opening cinematics.
Yeah. Good shit.
What was everyone's opinions on that?
I mean, it's rough for sure, but I enjoyed it for the same reason. We talk about this every fucking week with these games now, I guess, but it's just stupid. Like, so dumb.
It's like, it's got that B movie factor to it. You know what I mean? And that's what I appreciate about it. Is it's like this game definitely overall, I mean, even with the voice acting and stuff, is very much B movie vibes. So with that being said, like if you kind of go into it, with that mindset, it's a lot more enjoyable if you don't try to like take it too seriously.
For sure.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. I love the cinematics. At first I'm like confused. I'm like, there's no way this can actually be the cinematics of the game, but it's just, it has that unintentional hilarity to it where it's like, they're trying to be serious, but it's funny in its own right. And I love it. I thought it was really great.
I honestly thought that like the opening cinematic should have been a lot better just because the game actually is good and was probably quite scary for the time. And so to have like an opening cinematic that goofy, I mean, they definitely could have done better. For 1996, I mean, I understand that this was probably a studio on a budget, but I'm surprised that a group of professionals made that. It's very goofy. But regardless, like, even though it took me right out, the game was good enough to kind of suck me back in. I never got scared. It definitely was very goofy. I don't mean to jump ship again, but, you know, the voice acting, too, on top of the opening cinematics, everything took me out. That was, like, you know, verbal. But the game itself, you know, again, like it's, you know, a little stressful sometimes, frustrating, I would say, actually. So I don't know. It didn't completely take me out. But yeah, I didn't love that it had a B-movie factor because it made me feel like it was a joke for the opening cinematic and the voice narration, voice acting.
Yeah, in the very beginning, I laughed out loud when they showed Wesker with the sunglasses on, for sure.
Dude.
But no, when you play as Chris, actually, the dialogue, I would say, once you get into it, really isn't as cheesy because you really only talk to Rebecca and she just has like a normal anime girl voice. So it's not like straight up cheese. You know what I mean? Would you agree, Mike?
Yeah, I think the problem is the dialogue, like just the words they are saying is bad and cheesy. But on top of that, they just have those really long, awkward pauses where like the next audio clip is loading in. So it makes for like funny moments like that.
Speaking of loading, by the way, every single door, the stairs, oh man, it's pretty rough in this one. I don't know, it's hard not to talk about Silent Hill, but like it came out after this, so this is such a bad comparison, but I have to make it. It's like just not even the same thing. Going through the doors in Silent Hill is like instant, and this one you're watching a cutscene every time you do anything.
It prolonged the game. I wish we were able to play this on like 2x speed. Not that that's, I know we're supposed to have the authentic experience. It's, you know, part of rating it. But man, it was very slow paced, this game. That was part of like the 10-hour experience. You know what I mean? I just was like going through the same door over and over, forgetting where to go, and I lost tens of minutes doing that. You know what I mean? Not seconds.
I actually wanted to say, I think this game is like, honestly, more of a point and click adventure game than anything. It's pretty much a point and click adventure game where you shoot some zombies first, right? You know, you kill the zombies, and then after that, you're literally just walking around, finding items, figuring out what to do with them. Like, that's really all it is.
It's not a terrible way to put it.
One thing I want to add about the doors is I feel like, I mean, you guys are right, and I agree with you. Like, it's a bit much. But I feel like it almost adds to like some of the suspense, or maybe that might have been like partially their intention, because it's like, okay, you're going through this door. It's taken a little bit. Like, what's going to be on the other side of this door, you know? So I guess that's just kind of like a silver lining to the, you know, the long door sequences. But I could definitely agree that, like, you know, if they could just cut it back by like a second or two, it would be a little less, you know, dumb.
Yeah, and I do also want to say, like, I feel like this episode seems like it's leaning negative, but I do like this game still. Like, I still had a very good time. But these are all like the things that I didn't like. That's all.
Here's one thing I didn't like either is that you can't skip the dialogue. So when you keep dying and you have to keep replaying a dialogue scene, you have to just sit back and watch it every single time. And that drove me crazy. To the point where I wasted an ink ribbon to then save after the dialogue scene so that when I inevitably died again, I didn't have to watch it anymore.
That's definitely an of the time thing for sure. I mean, we've run into that with like every game we play.
Pretty much.
At least there's not one before the boss, right? I mean, you're just watching the boss come in. But also, the boss was easy. Like, right, Kyle? Like, it was easy.
So my experience with the snake was that when I went in, I was like using the grenade launcher or whatever, and just like smoking his ass.
Grenade launcher?
Yeah, bazooka, baby.
Yeah, we got a bazooka, bro.
Yeah. Chris doesn't get that?
No.
You had no idea. We were playing a whole different game, brother.
So I just shot it with the shotgun repeatedly and then it died. That's all. But go ahead, Kyle.
Anyways, I'm smoking this fucking snake with this bazooka, and then this little fucker comes up and bites me and he poisons my ass. And I don't have any healing items. So what happens is, like, once you leave that room, if you're poisoned, it triggers that cutscene where someone saves you. But the thing is, with the snake, you don't even have to, like, you know, shoot it till it runs off. You can just run around it, go and grab that crest, and leave the room. You don't have to fight it.
I love that.
Oh my god, that's awesome. That's such a cool, like, that makes me appreciate the game so much more.
Mike, you didn't make it to the boss, right?
No, I was almost there and I had to stop.
So when you play as Chris, I got poisoned and he falls over, and then you play as Rebecca and you have to go find the serum to heal him.
Oh, interesting.
You have to like run across half the map to go find it. It's like it's in the room where you found her. Like, you know, on the shelf, it's like, oh, there's vials here or whatever. That's where it is. So you have to go back and get it. But since I killed every zombie, it didn't matter. Like, it was just literally running and running back. But
When you play as Jill, you come to that one room where there's all those herbs and stuff. It's like the room before the boss room. You find somebody that's a part of your team that's poisoned, and you have to
Richard.
Yeah, if you find Richard, and you have to go get the serum, but it's kind of a timed thing.
Oh, is it?
And so if you don't come back in time, if you don't come back in time, he dies.
No, wait, that's not true because I watched a walkthrough. He dies no matter what because they did it in like 10 seconds.
Really? I thought it was a time thing. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, when I did it for the first time, though, first of all, you walk up to Richard because you guys don't know this. You walk up to Richard and like his whole pectoral muscle is like torn off, like, and he's lying on the ground. But he goes, I wrote it down. Hang on. Jill goes, Richard, what happened? And he goes, Jill, there's demons and ghouls. Ouch. And so that's the full dialogue. He doesn't say zombies. He says like demons and ghouls. I don't know if that's a direct quote. He doesn't say zombies though.
He says, ouch.
Yeah, and he goes, ouch. And then
I don't know. I don't know why I remember that. I don't remember that, but that's funny.
But the first time I ran it back without the guide, it took me, I was dicking around for like 2 hours. And then when you get back to him, within 30 seconds of getting back to him, I like forgot about him. And within 30 seconds of getting back to him, he's just like, oh, bye. Like the whole time, he's like, this is the end. So you've been bleeding out like this long. You've made it this long and now you're dead. And so anyways, I don't know. It's just kind of more ridiculous, like character voice acting. Also just back to taking me right out of the immersion. But it was entertaining. It sure was entertaining.
Ouch.
Yeah, ouch.
by the way, watching my footage, I thought of another complaint about the map I wanted to bring up really quick. And why is there not a button to just bring up the map? Why do you have to pause and go to map?
A quick key would have been so helpful.
You don't even use all the buttons. You use like 3.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that too. I kept pushing buttons trying to bring up a quick map because like that's what screwed me over in Persona was not knowing there was a quick map. And in this case, nope. I got to just go through it every single time. So if you're trying to be quick, that's just not the case.
I kept pushing triangle from Silent Hill thinking
I was doing that too.
somehow the map was going to work eventually. Yeah.
But we were negative a lot. Like, what's the positives that you guys see?
Oh, dude, this game is just super fun to play, and it's very satisfying when you like, I don't know, it's always nice figuring things out on your own without like a guide. And I know that's like not the experience that you had, but for me, it was just like, you know, for a while I was just kind of cruising through the game and I was like, oh man, like, you know, I'm just fucking smoking these zombies, figuring out these puzzles. Like, it was just a really fun experience. And plus, I love the cheesiness of like, you know, the voice acting and the whole B-movie factor. So I just overall enjoyed my experience, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there are things that I could, you know, complain about with the game, but I feel like a lot of those things are like an of the time thing. And so first, it's not even like detrimental to my experience at all. Like, yeah, they're like little annoying things, but it's kind of just like, okay, this is just how it is. I'm going to move on. But I feel like, for me at least, with things that are of the time, it's hard for me to hold that against the game because, you know, that's just kind of how it was. Like, yeah, Silent Hill had a better map, but yeah, Silent Hill came out, what, 4 years later? Like, you know, so it's like they've seen games do these things and they've learned from, you know, them. Like Silent Hill has a wonderful map that is super helpful. You know, Resident Evil didn't have that. You know, it's might have just been like an afterthought. But even though, like I said, the map is pretty much my only big complaint with the game, it's hard for me to hold that against the game. But for me, like, it just didn't really affect like the gameplay. You know what I mean? Like, the game still felt really good to play and I had a good time with it.
So for me, what I kind of liked was, and I said this already a couple times, but you know, once you kill the zombies, it is pretty much an adventure game solving puzzles. So like, and I never found the puzzles to be that complicated, right? You just have to have the right item or the right key. It's not like Silent Hill necessarily where you're using items in weird ways. Like there's some things in Silent Hill I would have never figured out on my own. And for this game, you know, I'm able to eliminate the enemies and then just figure it out at my own pace, walk around, do what I need to do. Whereas in Silent Hill, it's always tension. It's always scary. While, yeah, I still think that game is better than this because it came out later, I still enjoy what this is. And I think that if other games were more like this, where you're not being stalked, where you're not constantly under pressure, I think I would like a lot more horror games. But then again, I don't know. Are they really horror games if they just stop being scary at a certain point? So yeah, so pretty much I took the horror out of the horror game and I liked it. So, you know, what a surprise.
Yeah, if you remove the horror element. Pretty much like going off of what you said, that's how I felt too. If I wasn't playing this for the show, I wouldn't have used a walkthrough and I would have figured things out on my own. It's just with the time we had to do this, there's no way I was going to have the footage or anything to talk about if I didn't use a walkthrough. But I do agree that, yeah, given the time, as long as you eliminate your enemies, you can figure everything out. Like you can find this piece and you're like, I don't know what to do with this right now. But then down the road, you find something that needs to take that shape and you're like, cool, I need it for that. If it's not apparent right away, it will be later. And that's nice.
Yeah. And just to say this, you know, I'm a notorious puzzle hater on this show. But
yes.
What I like about this is I always felt like there was something I could check. There was something I could work towards. It wasn't like I'm at a brick wall where I need to just sit and figure it the fuck out. There was always like, oh, I can go over here and check these doors, or I can go look at the items I have and see where I can use them. Or there's a thing that I can do so that I'm not just sitting there thinking about it. I can go try things. And that's what I like about, you know, puzzles and games. I don't like it where it's literally just figure out the right combination of things or fuck off. Like in this one, you always feel like you have that forward momentum towards something.
Yes.
And that's what I like.
Yeah. And even like with the painting puzzle, it's like, sure, it makes you think a little bit and you might mess up a couple times, but it's pretty laid out. It tells you right in the beginning what it's looking for. And it's like, it might be like, oh, is the young one before the lively one? And you might make that mistake and mix them up, but then you learn. It's not like the piano one where it's like, I would have to sit down for days to understand this riddle.
But that's the thing to remember too, is Resident Evil has always been more focused on the action element over
exactly.
Silent Hill. So I don't know, Silent Hill does the vibes and it's actually scary all the time for me, whereas this is more of a gameplay experience, in my opinion. So, you know, you just pick your flavor. That's really all it comes down to. But yeah, unless you guys have anything else, we can go ahead and move on here.
The very final thing is, did anyone try to leave the mansion?
Yeah, the dogs.
No.
Yeah. So like, I was just curious. I'm like, can I go out this door? Did they think about this? And they actually did. If you go to it and try to, like, your character will open the door and kind of start peeking its head out. And then a dog dives through the door, like trying to get at you, and you just shut the door on it.
So in the remake of this game for GameCube, when you try to open that door, I'm pretty sure a dog gets inside and you have to kill it.
That's what I was expecting the entire time. It's a nice little touch. Like if you're curious, it like hits you with the jump scare. So
I didn't try that, but I do love that. So before we get to our scores, let's take a look at a couple reviews, see how the game was received at the time. And this game received crazy good reviews. I literally could not find a single review lower than 8 out of 10. I honestly couldn't really even find any good like parts in the reviews to read. So like, here's 2 people saying the game is good. That's what I got right now. Because usually I'll find a bad review and like, oh, here's them talking shit, but I just don't have it because nobody talks shit. I also got 2 new magazines for you today, Mike.
Yeah, thanks.
Video Games and Computer Entertainment Magazine gave it a 10 out of 10. And they said, everything about Resident Evil screams classic. It's a challenging, brain-twisting shock ride filled with sudden scares, fiendish puzzles, and more atmosphere than a dozen plants. People will actually stop in their tracks and watch you while you play this one because it's better than most flicks. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I'm so lost on more atmosphere than a dozen plants. What does that mean?
What?
I don't know. That's why I picked it.
I don't know what that means.
It must mean it doesn't have any atmosphere at all because this game is not a winner in that category, I would say. So
More atmosphere than a dozen plants. What an oddly specific thing to say.
But I get it. Like for the time when this came out, yeah, it was super scary.
oh, for sure. I mean, this is the first one like this. So it was,
Yeah.
I mean, I was scared as a kid. I never played anything like this. And I saw one zombie, I turned it off. So
So I completely understand where he's coming from and why it got such a high ranking or review.
Now Gamer gave it a 9.5 out of 10. And they said, considering the game boasts a perfect B-movie plot, just the right amount of action, character interaction, mental challenge, and film-like presentation, that if I didn't know better, I'd say Capcom has produced the perfect interactive movie. Resident Evil is horribly, horribly addictive. It tests your reflexes, satisfies your bloodlust, stretches your mind and temper, and leaves you both thrilled and drained. So one thing we didn't talk about was the story, which I think is whatever.
I don't know if you get farther into the game, it becomes more, but it just felt like you're meeting characters and just learning more about these characters, but you don't really understand the whole lore to Resident Evil from what I've seen.
So when you find these notes, they're long as fuck.
They
Did you
are.
find any?
Yeah.
Like I read a little bit and then I was like, I'm not reading this. This is like 10 pages. Like, no.
Yeah, that's where the story gets told. Same with like Alone in the Dark, that they told all their stories through like journals and stuff.
Yeah, I don't really like that. And that's like another knock for me compared to Silent Hill, where story is like one of the main reasons I wanted to keep playing.
Did Silent Hill though? Like I think that also had like a bunch of like pamphlets of like random papers and stuff that you had to read. I mean, you didn't have to read them, but you know that's how they tried to give you more story.
No, you're right. But Silent Hill also had story and cutscenes and stuff without that, whereas this doesn't.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, these cutscenes are like a total joke. So like, I honestly wish it didn't have any cutscenes at all. Just completely takes you out.
All right, so that brings us to our scores. I have complicated feelings on this game, but overall, I really liked it. I think for it being the first survival horror, for it being the first in the Resident Evil series, it's a very good start, and hopefully they fix things as they go. Kind of what I did was I looked at my scores that I gave the other horror games and kind of went through that and just try to put this in a place where I thought it would nicely compare to those. So for me, I mean, we had a lot of complaints. A lot of those are for the time. I'm going to go with a 7.5.
Whew. So,
That seems kind of low.
I will say whenever I first started, within the first like half hour, 45 minutes of playing the game, my score was about 5.5. I was miserable having such a bad time. I took a break, came back to it, and on my second playthrough, it's exactly like what you were talking about, Kyle, earlier, which is why I'm glad you brought it up, of you need to look at it from a different angle and not take it so seriously. And when you do that, you start to see the charm in the game. And I feel like going back to it, maybe I could try something different on normal mode and I might have a better time. But like that normal mode for me was just kicking my ass. But I'm so happy you gave it a 7.5, Jim, because I was also thinking it's a 7.5 and I thought I was going to be destroyed by you guys for saying that. But I'm glad you picked it too.
Well, I gave Dino Crisis an 8, and I think Dino Crisis is better than this game. So that was my thought process.
And Kyle looks very...
Well, then we'll let Kyle go last. Go ahead, Jay.
All right. For me, good game, just really dated, and it never really scared me, which is really what I want out of a Resident Evil game. And maybe back then it would have scared me, but nowadays a lot of parts of it don't hold up. But I still really appreciate the aesthetic of the game, and I still had some fun with it when I wasn't just like, completely dying over and over again at the same part and taking forever to reload because the game is really slow to menu through. So a lot of just like minor frustrations that don't hold up today. But I still appreciate the game a lot. So I'm going to give it, can I do 8.25, 8.25?
No, we're only 0.5s here. You got to pick one.
All right, 8.5. Round up. Good game. I appreciate it. It's part of the Resident Evil franchise. I'm a little biased, but this was fun, and I'm gonna play the remake. I think all the way through now, restart, but play it with like the better graphics and probably the quality of life upgrades because it's still like entertaining. It's a good game.
All right, Kyle, you look very disappointed in us. So
I can't believe you guys. So I'm definitely biased because Resident Evil is my favorite, franchise. I had a good time playing this game. I love the cheesy, B-movie thing they got going on there. I definitely appreciate that. And like I said, any complaint I had about the game is mostly just like an of the time thing, or it wasn't something that ruined my experience. There's just like little slight annoyances, but like seeing that like this is where it all started for this, you know, series was really cool. And it's cool to see that like a lot of the ideas that they have that, you know, stick throughout the series started, you know, here. It's like, oh, like they were doing this from the rip. So, I mean, with all that being said, I got to go with a 9.
I knew it was coming.
You think this is as good as Silent Hill?
They're just different games, man.
I don't know. I think Silent Hill has
Because
so
it came out
quality of life
5
upgrades
years
you can't
later.
ignore, man. 3 years later, but you still like you can take that into consideration. But all right, I won't try and convince you to change your score. But I think they're just quality of life upgrades. That's all, like factual ones, not opinionated ones, worth acknowledging.
That's just like a quality of life thing. That it's like, okay, this is just going to make this like a little bit better. You know, it's not going to enhance like the story of the game or like, you know, an overall experience. It's just like, okay, there's this one annoying thing that you don't have to deal with anymore. I don't know if I would let that affect my score too much, unless there was like something in the game that like absolutely ruined my experience that a quality of life upgrade would fix. And I don't think there's anything like that in this game.
So are you gonna finish the game after this? And I guess I asked that question to everyone.
Yeah, I am. I actually am. I'm gonna go through and finish it just because I had such a good time with it. I want to go through and play it again after I beat it, because there are rooms in the game that you can't unlock until after you beat the game, and you get like cool weapons, extra costumes, shit like that.
Little new game plus type beat. Love that. Love the replayability.
That is kind of nice, yeah.
I think you're insane for rating this the same as Silent Hill. I think that is a crazy take.
Yeah. I feel like this one is up for question. I think we gotta pressure Kyle into changing his score. That's a terrible thing to do, but you know, you should pressure your friends. You really should.
They're just like different games. Like, you know what I mean?
They are. They're two different games.
It's like, yeah, there's things in Silent Hill that
Yeah, one's an 8.5, one's a 9.
shut up. There are things in Silent Hill that I like that are, you know, different from what's in Resident Evil, but I can say the same thing about Resident Evil with Silent Hill. Like with Silent Hill, that fucking camera, like that was a little wonky at first and you had to get used to it. Like Resident Evil, like, yeah, they do have the fixed camera perspective thing, but I never felt like there were any like perspectives that I were like, oh, this sucks. You know what I mean? Like the game, like, yeah, the graphics were what they are for the time. Like, yeah, the game kind of looks like shit, especially when you know, compare it to today's standards. But there was never like a viewpoint or anything like that where I was like, oh, this just like fucking looks bad, or I can't tell what I'm doing.
So after battling Kyle on this a little bit and reminding myself how good Silent Hill is, you know, I think, you know, age gap that be damned between those games. Silent Hill is at least a whole point better in my opinion. And so I'm going to knock Resident Evil down to an 8.
Wow.
Get fucked, Kyle.
The fact that you're only doing that out of spite
Hey, I'm not.
for me
just
is insane.
I just said why I'm doing it. You didn't listen. You're not listening. You're taking it personally and you're being defensive. You're projecting. What? You're being emotional.
I just feel
you're hysterical.
I feel like
all right,
knocking
that's
a
enough
score
gaslighting for one
for a
podcast,
bit.
buddy.
It's not all about you, sport. It's not all about you. Hello, this guy over here. Hello, me.
Unreal.
Before we wrap this up, I do want to say I can hear what you're saying. I just think the way that we do this show is we're just rating the game for what it is. We shouldn't be comparing it to Silent Hill as much as we are. You're right. But I just think it's impossible not to compare the games we played. And I just think I would rather play Silent Hill just for the vibes, just for the music over this. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot better. It's a whole point.
But all right. So that'll put Resident Evil at number 8 with an 8. Right under Tony Hawk 2, right above Dino Crisis. Do not agree with that. But
just slightly, very small amount above Dino Crisis.
scores go where they go. This is the danger of having people on. They can fuck up our list.
Wow. You know what? Good. I'm glad that bothers you, Jim. Now you have to stare at that on the list. And it will never, ever be fixed.
Don't fucking... This is why I said you guys shouldn't invite him back. He does this every time. He's a schmuck. He fucks up. He blows it every time. He skews these scores. He's here to cause outrage. He gets a kick out of it. He's a bad friend.
Wow.
It's a thrill for him. It's a sick thrill. He wants to fuck up the show.
All right.
I'm here to save
That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe, as well as give us a rating on podcast services. We're off next week. Had to take a little break after these horror games, just too scared. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye. Jay, get fucked.
Fuck you, Kyle. You suck. Bad friend. Bad friend.